Welcome to Woodburn Christian Church Online Edition. Last Sunday, we ended on Luke chapter 10, verse 37. It was the Good Samaritan story, and Jesus told us to go and do. The very next story is Martha and Mary with Jesus at Martha's house. I thought it was Lazarus' house, since women didn't own property unless widowed, and we usually talk about Lazarus, Martha, and Mary together. But it says Martha's house. And we were told to go and do, which is exactly what Martha was doing. She went, she invited Jesus, the disciples, and now she was working, preparing, working, and serving. Where we go with chapter 10 in Luke, verses 38 through 42. As Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. She had a sister called Mary who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. She came to him and asked, "Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help me." "Martha, Martha," the Lord answered, "you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed. Or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken from her." I can relate to Martha. I tell people at church all the time that my gift is hospitality, not ministry. God has me doing sermons, but I am happy to make the coffee and serve snacks for after church, and I love watching them eat because there's probably more feedback about my treats than my preaching. But it goes beyond that. We have a cousin reunion, and it's in Pleasantville every other year, and I love hosting the meals and after the meals. And I plan and I cook, and sometimes I miss out on the visiting on the deck. But I am more comfortable serving than sitting and chatting. They think they put me out and try to help, but honestly, I love serving them. And it is coming up this September, and I am so excited. I can't even imagine how it would feel to have Jesus and his disciples come to my home. And I never thought about how many that involved. Was it Jesus and the 12? Or was it the 12 and the 70 that he sent out in pairs? Or the others that had joined in afterwards? And all at Martha's house? This was a big event, even if it were the 12. Martha opened her home to the biggest thing that was probably happening in that town that year. In that day, in that era, you had to go above and beyond when you had guests. You treated them better than royalty. In a lot of the Old Testament stories, you hear them where they killed the lamb or the fatted calf to feed a guest. But this was Jesus, the Messiah, the Son of God, better than any royalty we've had on earth. All guests, not just Jesus, entering your home, must be welcomed greatly. You washed their feet, you prepared the food, and you protected them against anything that could happen. You protected them with your own life. So here she is, Martha, washing the feet, cooking the food, offering drinks, putting out the appetizers, the fruit, the cheese. And Mary is going against every single rule there was of etiquette at that time, and Jesus allowed her to do it. No woman was allowed to sit with a man, and especially not at their feet. They didn't eat, the women, until all the men were served, and no man would teach a woman about the Torah. Not a rabbi, anyway. Maybe in your own home. But here was Mary, sitting with Jesus at his feet, soaking in all the wisdom denied women. And Martha was working herself into a frenzy trying to prepare possibly a 7-course meal for who knows how many men that probably hadn't eaten all day. Jesus, don't you care that my sister has left me with all the work? Tell her to help me. And Jesus answers, Martha, Martha, you are worried and distracted by many things. There is only one thing. Mary has chosen the better part, which will not be taken from her. Wait, Jesus, last week you said we had to go and do. And here I am going and doing, and now you say Mary is doing right, sitting and doing nothing while I work myself into a frenzy trying to take care for all of you? And now you say sitting at your feet and listening is a better part? How are we to know what to do and when to do it? And I don't think Jesus was unappreciative of all that Martha was doing. He probably loved a good home-cooked meal, but he was trying to tell her that a simple meal, bread and cheese and fruits, would have sufficed, and she too would have been the perfect host and would still have been allowed to hear the message of how awesome our God is and how Jesus was preparing them for the things to come. And Martha was missing out. Jesus didn't want Martha to miss out on the message of how God loved her and how awesome God is. Jesus led a life of a happy medium. Not that he was happy, but he did go and he did do. But he took time before he went to be with God in prayer and devotion. We too are to follow his example. Jesus went and spent time with God alone and prayed and worshiped, studied whatever he did to do to connect to his God and our God. But then he went and preached and healed, and he loved on those that had been abandoned by the people, the blind, the deaf, the harlot, the tax collector, all who had lost hope at ever being loved by God. He was crowded and probably overwhelmed by the unloved, the sick, wherever he went. And he would have been lost too if he had not taken the time he needed to be with God. I think we often forget that, and I was reminded while I was sick just how much time I need to spend with God. Life has a way of overwhelming us with the COVID, the war, famines, death, tornadoes, the ratio, abortion issues, politics, work, our own health, finances, life in general. My daughter has a calendar app set up to keep track and to keep her life organized and ours. And there were days when we were gone from 8 in the morning till 6 at night between art camp, swim lessons, and ball practices. This week it balanced out with vacation Bible school for the kids and with me with a forced Sabbath because COVID. I had more time in the Word. I actually spent more time studying before writing, more time in prayer, and more time trying to figure out what to say. Being sick was very peaceful and calming except for the dog hogging half the couch at night because I slept there to elevate my head to breathe. You wouldn't think a 10-pound dog could take up a third of the couch, but she did. It is real easy in our daily lives to forget to pause and be with God. I try to start each morning with a devotion, and I read Bible verses sent to me each day on the internet, and then I try to study for the sermon. Sometimes I don't get it done, but it makes it hard to stay focused when I don't. I ask you, how do you spend time with God? How do you stay focused? We know we need to cut out a special time in the morning or in the evening and really devote some time to read the Bible and pray and listen to God. We say Jesus is our teacher. Then we should follow his example on this, as well as loving others when we are out and about. Getting back in focus with God makes everything else that is happening a lot easier to go through. So, you need to spend time with God and then go and do. Then come back and spend time with God. The sermon in a nutshell would be someone cared enough to let you know about the love of God. You should take time with God, study up on the Bible, and share that love with others this week without worrying about getting all the extra food on the table. May God be with each and every one of you till we meet again. But with that, the back of the bulletin. Boss says, you have to start getting to work on time. Me. The trouble with getting to work on time is that it makes the day so long. May God bless you and keep you safe till we meet again.